woman can give any knowledge or tell of any tidings of an very old, grey-bearded gentleman called Christmas, who was wont to be a very familiar guest and visit all sorts of people, both poor and rich, and had ringing feasts and jollity in all places, both in city and country, for his coming. Whosoever can tell what is become of him, and he may be found, let them bring him back again into England.
I'm Tamsin Lewis, and I direct the early music ensemble Passamezzo. Our December this year was set to be very busy, with lots of concerts and other seasonal events. But like everyone else, we've had to change our plans due to COVID-19. It's going to be a very different Christmas this year. Very low-key. But it could be a lot worse. In the 17th century, Christmas was actually banned. Then, just as now, Christmas was both a religious festival and a time to get together with family and friends for good food and good company and music and dancing. And then, just as now, people sometimes got a bit carried away at parties.
Come Robin, Ralph, and little Harry, and merry Thomas at our green, where he shall meet with Bridget and Sary, the finest young wenches that e'er were seen. Then hey for Christmas once a year, where we have cakes and ale and beer, and to our Christmas feast there comes both men and maids who shake their bums. For Gaffer Nichols has gotten a custard, my neighbour Wood a roasted pig, and Widow Franklin hath beef and mustard, and at the thatched house there is good swig. Then hey for Christmas once a year, where we have cakes and ale and beer, and to our Christmas feast there comes both men and maids who shake their bums. There's a fiddler to play for every dance, when the young lads and lasses meet, with which the men and maids will prance, with the fiddler before them in the street. The Morris dancers will be ready, meat and drink enough to lady, and in a fool's dress will be little Neddy to entertain our Christmas lady. And when the day shall all appear that are to be at our brave wakes, to eat up the meat and drink up the beer, and play at cards for ale and cakes, then hey for Christmas once a year, where we have cakes and ale and beer, and to our Christmas feast there comes both men and maids who shake their bums. They side and then turn round about and briskly trip into each other, and when they have danced it out, they presently call for another. Then they sat down to their good cheer, and pleasant were both maids and men, and having dined and drank their beer, they rose and went to dance again. Then hey for Christmas once a year, where we have cakes for ale and beer, and to a Christmas feast there comes both men and maids to shake their bums. Thus they did dance from noon till night, and were as merry as cup and can, till they had tired the fiddler quite, and sweat down their buttocks ran. Then they went to the little thatched house and played at cards a game or two, and with the good liquor did so carouse that they drunk to Tom and Hugh, who took the fiddler and broke his mate, threw the fiddle into the fire, and drunkenly went home so late that most of them fell into the mire. And hey for Christmas once a year, where we have cakes and ale and beer, and to a Christmas feast there comes both men and maids to shake their bums. Then hey for Christmas once a year, where we have cakes and ale and beer, and to a Christmas feast there comes both men and maids to shake their bums. And hey for Christmas once a year, where we have cakes and ale and beer, and to a Christmas feast there comes both men and maids
reviled by the Puritans, who saw them as ungodly. And as Parliament gained power during the Civil Wars, attempts were made to ban Christmas altogether.
For as much as the feasts of the Nativity of Christ, Easter and Whitsuntide, and other festivals commonly called holy days, have been heretofore superstitiously used and observed, be it ordained by the Lords and Commons in Parliament assembled, that the said feasts of the Nativity of Christ, Easter and Whitsuntide, and all other festival days, commonly called holy days, be no longer observed as festivals or holy days within this kingdom of England and dominion of Wales.
Unsurprisingly, these rules didn't please everyone. There were riots in London and in Canterbury, in Bury St Edmunds and in Norwich, as people protested and tried to stop the shops being open on Christmas Day. This ballad from 1646 describes how many people felt as they saw their world being turned upside down.
Listen to me, and you shall hear, news hath not been this 1,000 year, since Herod, Caesar, and many more, you never heard the like before. Holy days are despised, new fashions are devised, old Christmas is kicked out of town. Yet let's be content and the times lament. You see the world turned upside down. The wise men did rejoice to see our Saviour Christ's nativity. The angels did good tidings bring. The shepherds did rejoice and sing. Let all honest men take example by them. Why should we from good laws be bound? Yet let's be content and the times lament. You see the world turned upside down. Our lords and knights and gentry too do mean old fashions to forego. They set a porter at the gate that none must enter in thereat. They count it a sin when poor people come in. Hospitality is drowned. Yet let's be content and the times lament. You see the world turned upside down. The serving men do sit and whine and think it long ere dinner time. The butler's still out of the way, or else my lady keeps the key. The poor old cook in the larder doth look where there's no goodness to be found. Yet let's be content and the times lament. You see the world turned upside down. I'll tell you news that's right. Christmas was killed at Naseby fight. Charity was slain at the same time. Jack Tell drove to a friend of mine. Likewise then did die roast beef and shred pie. Pig, goose and capon, no quarter found. Yet let's be content and the times lament. You see the world turned upside down.
Further edicts were passed over the years, This is a sign that people weren't obeying the laws. This is an example from 1652.
Resolved by the Parliament, that the markets be kept tomorrow, being the 25th day of December, and that the Lord Mayor and Sheriffs of London and Middlesex, and the Justices of Peace for the city of Westminster and liberties thereof do take care that all such persons as shall open their shops on that day be protected from wrong or violence, and the offenders punished. Resolved by the Parliament, that no observation shall be had of the 25th day of December, commonly called Christmas Day, nor any solemnity used or exercised in churches upon that day in respect thereof.
There were also penalties for churches that stayed open on Christmas Day, but many priests defied the law and held services, sharing the sentiments of this song.
This Christmas time, 'tis fit that we should feast and sing and merry be. It is a time of mirth, for never since the world began more joyful news was brought to man than at our Saviour's birth. But such have been these times of late that holidays are out of date, and holiness to boot, for they that do despise and scorn to keep the day that Christ was born, want holiness no doubt. The Parliament that took away the observation of that day, we know it was not free, for if it were, such acts as those had ne'er been seen in verse or prose. You may conclude with me.
To the Royalists, the world had become a cold and a cheerless place. John Taylor's pamphlet, Christmas In and Out, was printed in 1652, and he describes how many people felt. He lampoons laws that were seen as ridiculous, and described how Christmas was driven away from the towns.
There were lately some over-curious, hot, zealous brethren, who with a superbian predominance did do what they could to keep Christmas Day out of England. They did in divers places preach me for dead in funeral sermons, and laboured tooth and nail to bury me alive in the grave of oblivion. They were of opinions that from the 24th of December at night till the 7th of January following, that plum pottage was mere popery, that a collar of brawn was an abomination, that roast beef was anti-Christian, that mince pies were relics of the whore of Babylon, and a goose, a turkey, or a capon were marks of the beast. In detestation of which superstitious diet, they assumed to themselves spiritual and temporal jurisdiction, power, and authority to search and plunder pottage pots, to ransack and rifle ovens, and to strip spits stark naked, and triumphantly carry the pillage to be disposed of as they pleased, for the profit and edification of the righteous and the chastisement of the wicked. I am old, and born to tell the nose-wise brethren of these critic days that my master is King of kings and Lord of lords, who is the Ancient of Days, who never had beginning and never shall have end. And on this day, which is kept in thankful remembrance of his blessed incarnation 1652 years since, I, Christmas, have not failed to make my anniversary and yearly progress into Christendom. But now, of late, the case is quite altered. Christ and Christmas are both alike unwelcome. It is a lamentable and too long a story to relate. What a pitiful quandary I and my followers have been in any time these 12 years when we came into this country. I was in good hope that so long a misery would have made them glad to bid a Merry Christmas welcome. But welcome or not welcome, I am come. And at my coming, a little before day, I gazed to and fro to make choice of the best houses and housekeeper, to take up my quarters amongst them. But alas, the comfort that I found was colder than the weather. This was no good news to me and my company. We had not been used to such uncomfortable breakfasts, which made us all search up and down the chief cities for better cheer, and wandering into the country up and down from house to house, I found little or small comfort in any.
Despite this, Taylor also goes on to show how some people manage to celebrate anyway.
Indeed, to speak truth, my best and freest welcome was with some kind of country farmers. I will describe one for all the rest in Devonshire and Cornwall, where as soon as they spied me, they saluted me with much love and reverend courtesy. The good man, with the dame of the house, and all the rest of the men were exceeding glad to see me, and with all country courtesy and solemnity I was had into the parlour. There I was placed at the upper end of the table, and my company about me. We had good cheer and free welcome, and we were merry. Aha, quoth I, this piece of the world is well mended. This was as Christmas would have it. Here is neither too much cost nor too little meat. Here is no surfeit on one side or hunger on the other. They are always the best feasts where the poor are relieved, for the rich can help themselves. After dinner, we arose from the board and sat by the fire, where the hearth was embroidered all over with roasted apples, piping hot, expecting a bowl of ale for a cooler, which presently was transformed into warm lamb's wool. Within an hour after, we went to church, where a good old minister uttered many good speeches concerning me, exciting and exhorting the people to love and unity one with another, and to extend their charities to the needy and distressed. After prayers we returned home, where we discoursed merrily without either profaneness or obscenity. Supper being ended, we went to cards. Some sung carols and merry songs suitable to the times. Then the poor labouring hinds and the maidservants with the ploughboys went nimbly to dancing, the poor toiling wretched being all glad of my company, because they had little or no sport at all till I came amongst them, and therefore leaped and skipped for joy, singing this catch.
Let's dance and sing and make good cheer, for Christmas comes but once a year. Your horns heads right, let flagons fly, oh now the bells shall ring, whilst we endeavour to make good the title against the king. Let's dance and sing and make good cheer, for Christmas comes but once a year. Let's dance and sing and flagons fly, for Christmas comes but once a year. Let's dance and sing and flagons fly, for Christmas comes but once a year. Let's dance and sing and flagons fly, for Christmas comes but once a year. Let's dance and sing and flagons fly, for Christmas comes but once a year.
Thus, at active games and gambols of hot cockles, shooting the wild mare and the like harmless sports, the tedious night was spent, and early in the morning we took our leaves of them thankfully. And though we had been 13 days well entertained, yet the poor people were very unwilling to let me go, so I left them out of hope to have my company again for a 12-month space, that I were not banished in my absence. They should have my presence again the next 25th of December, 1653.
In 1660, the monarchy was restored and Christmas returned, all the more appreciated for having been missed.
This tale's now done, the speaker's dumb, thanks to the trumpet and the drum. And now I hope to see a parliament that will restore all things that were undone before, that we may Christians be.
Christmas is going to be difficult this year. We're not going to be able to do the things we'd hoped we would be able to do. Let's look forward instead to a better year next year.
All you that to feasting and mirth are inclined, come, here is good news for to pleasure your mind. Old Christmas is come for to keep open house. He scorns to be guilty of starving a mouse. Then come, boys, and welcome for diet the chief. Plum pudding, goose capon, mince pies, and roast beef.
The holly and ivy about the walls wind, and show that we ought to our neighbours be kind, inviting each other for pastimes and sport. Where we best fare, there we do resort. We fill lots of victuals, and that of the chief. Plum pudding, goose capon, minced pies, and roast beef.
Although the cold weather doth hunger provoke, 'tis a comfort to see how the chimneys do smoke. Provision is making for beer, ale, and wine, for all that are willing or ready to dine. Then haste to the kitchen for diet the chief. Plum pudding, goose capon, minced pies, and roast beef. Then well may we welcome old Christmas to town, who brings us good cheer and good liquors for brown, to pass the cold winter away with delight. We feast it all day and we frolic at night. Both hunger and cold we keep out with relief. Plum pudding, goose capon,